Most of you probably saw the news in the last week about cruisers getting left behind in Hawaii due to the tsunami that warnings and stuff that came from the earthquake off the coast of Russia. So let's dive into what happened here. So what happened is obviously cruise ships, obviously they dock at the islands or wherever it is that you're going to be at. And if there's going to be any type of a warning, tsunami possibility, weather stuff, the best place for a cruise ship is actually to be away from the island so the ships leave. Well, this is exactly what happened. And in this particular case, 600 people from a cruise ship, unfortunately, were left behind. And some of you might ask yourself, well, how in the world did this go about happening? What in the world? How did this progress into what it got to? Well, what ended up happening was that when the tsunami warnings came out, the Coast Guard told the ship, hey, listen, you got to go. Let's move. You can't be here. So they had to leave. Well, in this particular case, Norwegian being a primary sailor of the Hawaiian Islands, they have all kinds of safeguards in place, trainings, and all kinds of things that they've already set forth just in case this were to happen. So as soon as the warning was sent out, Norwegian sent out text messages to all passengers to return to the ship. If you were on a Norwegian sponsored excursion, they were given a certain time frame to return to the ship by. Otherwise, they were told to go to higher ground. And so these types of things were popping off quick. Well, obviously, as you've probably seen on the news, 600 of those passengers were not able to make it back before the ship had to turn around and leave. And so they were taken to a higher ground meeting place. Those ones were kept overnight. Unfortunately, probably not the best of place. I think it ended up being actually a high school gymnasium, which, no one really wants to spend the night in. But in this particular case of what happened, you just kind of have to roll with the punches. But let's talk about how, as a cruiser, you could be more prepared for something like this if it were to ever happen to you. So one is to have your cell phone with you. I know this is a very touchy thing these days, but a lot of people are like, well, I'm going on vacation. I'm turning my cell phone off. I don't want nothing to do with it. I don't want to bring that with me. And so a lot of people are like, attached to it still. Well, in this particular case, if you'd had your cell phone with you and had it turned on, which that's one of the other key things there, you'd have got the messages, notifications. What would happen if you'd have been on your own in the own personal excursion where you just kind of go off to it? We do this all the time. We go off and do things on our own. And you got off and suddenly, you hear these sirens going off and you ain't got a clue what it's all about because you're somewhere that you don't know anything about. Maybe you don't live somewhere that has tsunami warnings, so you don't even know. What do? All of a sudden you see these cars start racing by you, and I guess you just start asking questions. Okay. So, but if you had your phone with you and you had it turned on service, you'd get this notification. Plus, obviously, if you were there, you would get a regular local notification as to what was going on. But if you didn't have your phone on, you'd never know these things. We travel to Europe a lot. And every time we travel, we have our phones on. We have internet plans and stuff that are constantly going because we don't want to be out of touch in case something happened. And this was a very good example of this particular thing. So, people are going to make their own choices. But I think people really need to see what happened here in this situation to see how they might want to go about things. And maybe they might want to do things a little bit different. I know if we were, if we suddenly wanted to, not want to use cell phones and want to have them off, maybe just use them as your camera because they're great cameras right now, that, this would probably change our minds because this is a really scary situation. And I would really hate to see what people might have had to have went through and dealt with had they not known what was going on And, it could have been a really bad situation for them. Thankfully, nothing came about from this. It was just a little bit of a extended high tide, so to speak. And so everything panned out the way it could have, much less than what it could have been. So, well, just something to ponder. Take your cell phone. I highly recommend just take it and, you know, turn it on and be connected so that just in case, you never know. So that's just kind of my public service announcement for today with things in regards to cruising on that side of things. So, well, if you've enjoyed today's news, enjoyed this, please hit the like button, click down, hit the subscribe button. And until next time, have a great day.